I'm Kirsty.
And I'm Dieter.
And welcome to Some Loosemore, a channel dedicated to the hobby of board games.
Some news in the life of Some Loosemore. As you can see, we are in a different place, a different room. That's because we've moved house, so we've been a little bit slow on a couple of our videos. I've missed one of mine, and we're hoping to get this one out in time, but it might be a couple of days late. Just because we've moved, we're trying it out on the sofa. We'll try out different things. Do leave a comment as to what you think of our current setup. We'll potentially look at changing it in the future, but we are here now, so we are back, and we will aim to keep on top of the videos as we have always done.
So we've been doing a series on games to introduce to people who have played other kinds of games. So we've done dice games, card games, and today we're doing board games.
Now this should seem quite obvious considering this is a channel about board games, but what we mean by this is more the kinds of games that people who don't know this world, which is who we're saying you should be teaching games to, the kinds of games that they automatically think of. So the Monopoly, the Scrabble, the Trivial Pursuit, the Risk, all those kinds of games that you can buy pretty much anywhere. It's people who have had some experience, positive or negative, in those kinds of games. What would we suggest? Not that we're saying those are necessarily bad games, but they're not ones that we would necessarily choose. What would we suggest that they should play? So I have gone down more the Monopoly, Ludo kind of route of you roll the dice, you move your piece. So my game today is called Camel Up or Camel Cup. There's some argument as to whether this C covers both the words or not, but I know it as Camel Up. Now the major difference between Camel Up and the kinds of games that we were talking about is that you don't control any individual piece. There's still dice rolling, you're still moving pieces around a track, but it is slightly different in how it works. All the players have turned up to a camel race. There are 5 different camels of different colours, each with a dice in the very handy dice rolling pyramid, who are racing their way around the track, and players will take it in turns to release one of these dice. So you move one of the camels forward, but the aim of the game is to guess which camel you think is going to finish first. Each player has a hand of tokens and money which they can use to secretly place the colour of the camel they think will win and who they think will come last. Now there are a couple of things that players can do during the game to affect this. They can put obstacles in the way of camels they don't want to win. It also matters when you decide which one you think is going to win. The first person who gets it right will receive a higher reward than somebody who gets it right at the end. So you could wait and see, but then you're less likely to get the big monies. During the game you can also gamble on who you think will win each leg. A leg is simply what each camel gets their dice rolled, and so everybody has taken a movement. Now if at the end of that, before you need to put the dice back in, you took the right colour to say you think this one will be in the lead, you get some points, and so on and so on. But again, the first person to take it and get it right gets more points than the next person, and so on. And so there's these multiple levels of trying to guess who's gonna win, but also pushing your luck on, do I wait, but somebody else might get more points for it, or do I go early and have more chance of getting it wrong? The game lasts as many legs as it takes for one of the camels to cross the finish line, in which case the final leg has taken place. You do the final scoring of that, you find out who people bet for the overall winner, overall loser. Points, money are distributed accordingly, and the player with the most money at the end of the game is the winner. Now I have chosen Camel Up for a few reasons. Firstly, there's the dice rolling. I think that's the main thing that people who have played these games will be used to. But the twist on this is that they're not moving their own piece, rather potentially all the pieces, but they want certain ones to go ahead further or not. This game is really fun. One of the things I didn't explain is how the camels move. So if I roll the blue dice, the blue one would move forward, but it might end on the space with the white one. Now if the white die is rolled, they both move along, so you're potentially hindering different people as you go. That's really fun. And the dice roller itself is great, although somewhat unnecessary. You could just roll the dice randomly and see which one comes out, but this way you get to roll all of them.
It's quite fun.
Good little mechanism just to get a specific one. For people who have played the roll and move, we typically call them kinds of games before, Camel Up I think is a great choice.
So I've gone for something slightly different. I've gone for a game called Small World. Now this is a great game for those new players who have played Risk before. So it's very much about territorial control on a board. Small World is a 2 to 5 player game for ages 8 and above, and you pay different amounts to gain different races, which you then control on the board. Your race will come with a different special ability, which will then help to build your territory on the board. As you meet other races on the board, you engage in combat with these races. Now this is to do with the number of tokens you have compared to the number of tokens they have. You always need 2 tokens to obtain a territory, but then an extra one for every other race on that territory and every other obstacle on that territory. Now as you expand, your tokens and your race may become quite thin on the ground over a great expanse of territory. At this point you may wish to go into decline. When this happens, you choose a second race. Your first race goes into decline and you know that they're no longer an active participant, but you can choose a second race with a second special ability. This can happen time and time again until the end of the game. The winner of the game is the person with the most victory points, and victory points are gained by gaining the most areas of the small world. I think this is a great game for new players because the theme is really fun. It's a very fantastical world. I would say it's a lot more interesting than the Risk theme because there's so many extra variables involved. So you can have completely different special abilities and they all mix and match with the different races. As we've said before, a chance aspect in a new game is a really good thing to have so that it gives every player the opportunity to win. Now this is a lovely balance of there's a bit of tactical work involved, and if you understand what's going on, you can strategically place things and make strategic moves. However, if you don't quite understand or you're new to the game, you still have a chance at winning, gaining victory points, gaining territory, and having a good shot of the game.
Now, one game that most people would think we might have suggested is a game called Catan or Settlers of Catan. This is one of the most popular of the designer board games that exist. Again, it's about as available, nearly as well known as the things like Monopoly and Risk are these days. A couple of reasons: we don't own it anymore. We have done. We don't own it anymore because we are largely 2 players. It's not designed for 2 players. We'll play other people's. But also, what you find, why I wouldn't choose it personally, is what you find as you play more and more games is that your tastes develop. You find the things that you like, and that's not necessarily you like harder and harder games.
No.
We really enjoy Camel Up, we really enjoy Small World, we really enjoy Bang the Dice Game. All the games that we've talked about before, we really enjoy them, that's why we're suggesting them.
Yeah.
And Catan, for us, I think needs the right people to play with for it to be fun.
Yeah.
Because there's a negotiation aspect, you can go check out, there'll be other reviews and things on this game, or you may have heard of it or played of it. It is a really good game, I'm not saying it's not, it's just not necessarily for us. So those are just some suggestions for games that you can teach people who have played traditional board games before, things like Monopoly, things like Risk. Do let us know in the comments if you have any suggestions of your own. Also, again, keep saying in the comments things you would like us to talk about in future episodes. You can follow us in the meantime on social media. We're on Twitter at @WSomeLmore, we're on Facebook. All the usual places. Do subscribe to this channel. If you are already subscribed to this channel, do be sharing our videos.
Yeah.
If you think other people will enjoy what we're talking about, do put it out there so more people get to see what we are doing. We will be back as soon as we can be. Again, things are slightly in flux with us still moving stuff over. Not everything's complete yet. We'll be back up and running as soon as possible. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.
Goodbye.